Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is Zethu Zwana with Black Clutter Health and Wellness Lifestyle. This is just growth babe extended conversations all the way on my blog. So we are doing a series of how to develop a life plan, life goals, and I am so excited that you are here. If you are new to my channel, please definitely subscribe and let me know in the comments if anything is relevant or was useful to you today. I would be so happy to answer any of your questions. Let's get right into this one because this one have hopeful and yummy conversations with you guys throughout the week. So, what is clutter? Clutter is clutter in general, if you're looking at everything, it's just messy. It's disorganization, whether it's emotionally, mentally, or physically in your space, that is just not streamlined and coherent. The reason why I loved having this conversation or loved having this definition as a start to your life is because I even had that opinion at some point up until Jesus. I swear to you, okay, no, actually it was like 2 years when I turned my whole life to God and said, okay, and I threw it and I was like, you have to do everything, do whatever the people were saying that you can do, but do it. I can't do this. I'm hitting walls, I'm making the same mistakes, and I'm getting irritated, and I'm losing steam, I'm losing the passion. So what I then realized is, God kept on, untangling more things than putting more things together. Especially, I'm a competitive person, having a national swimming background, having a national sports background. It almost feels like I was like, okay, so I'm just going to be failing like my whole life, really, wow, And so that one led me to coin the term on my blog, growth opportunities. It's not that you're failing. So if you are a perfectionist freak like myself, or if you're competitive, you have a fighter spirit, a determined, tenacious spirit, take those untangling of your beliefs as growth opportunities. The first thing, then, the sweet moment with that one, I was like, you know what, my God is geographical, church is geographical, my Christianity has been geographical. Moving from Smunye, which is like a unicorn island, it has like every perfect thing that you could ever imagine, free everything, it's free too many things, I think, and then having church there, to, let's say, Norman, Oklahoma, which is like Bible Belt town, to Texas, to New York. You definitely sometimes get the sense that God is geographical, and not because he really is, but because then you start to look at your environment kind of differently. I'll give you a perfect example. In Texas, I said they are flair, baby. Like, they are beautiful. They look like they would be my type of people, because I'm like, yes. Even though I'm quiet, I'm an in-between introvert. I just read like your vibe and see if I can match it, or let's just, we'll be quiet, I guess, so can be quiet. But, Texas people are just flair and, just full of flair and fun. And so that kind of gives you it changes then your relationship with Christ, whereas, you get a different approach of Christ because of just the different geographies where you live in. Because then people use different examples. For instance, the examples that will be put here in Eswatini are absolutely different from the examples that are used in the United States. But sometimes when I'm fighting the narrative of Eswatini, the messy clutter of your beliefs, what is failure here, what is available to you, what you can achieve here, I take on that, what I learned from overseas to be like, no, Jesus is, and then I have to remind myself, Jesus is not geographical, if an American do it, then I can do it, and so you have that kind of spirit. So clutter is just, because then clutter is all these narratives that you've picked up and made into beliefs. Just kind of have your space when you are trying to do a life goal, that not everything you take should be taken as the final thing, rock to stone, like caveman, like once it's scratched on there, it's there for life. There's no erasing it. No, only because then you have to realize that when then God brings you onto that journey and untangling those beliefs, there's a lot of grieving, and I say grieving because sometimes it's like losing an idea that you had. I loved where, like, even some other health and wellness people always say that, or other Christians say, I was always fighting to be like, oh, I'm the tenacious one, I'm the sporty one. And then the more God untangles your life so that it is straight and clear, the more you realize, actually, you know what, I'm just a child of God, okay? I don't want any labels, Jesus. I don't want labels, okay? They give me headaches now. Because then the next season, it's untangling of that label. And then you're like, okay, who am I, like, who am I in Christ? And I think the more that you allow those untanglings to take place and then go back to who am I in Christ, write that down. So one of the things that you're going to be hearing me say consistently on here is just write it down, girl. Write who am I in Christ. Let's start off with some key pointers, and later on I'll explain to you why those became key pointers. God's character. Write down God's character. So whether you are in the rural village, which I like to call cow country because that's where I am, in cow country, okay, whether in town, whether you are in Asia, or whether you're here in Eswatini, whether you are in the United States, you don't have to have traveled overseas to kind of say, no, if an American has a testimony that says ABC, I can't be like, no, but that won't happen. That'll never happen here. And so I was like, child, I cannot wait till we get deep into this one, because I'm living whatever life that God, if I say, God, I really want to do this, and he allows me to do it, I can live the same life as an American. I don't have to be overseas to achieve the goodness that is available here. So then that means that there's no more scarcity. You can't have this idea of scarcity based on region, because then you're limiting who God is. So write down the characters of God and write down the promises of God. And then the other thing that I would love to encourage you to do, and this one is with a grain of salt, if you have a testimony, if you start to, especially if you're like me, where people always been like, Jesus led me here, and oh, Jesus took me Jesus told me not to sit here, and I was like, what are you talking about? Just have the grace to, say that, hey, this is, I want to hear your voice. I want this opportunity to hear your voice, but have the grace to hear his voice. Because if I can just share later on when now I've untangled a lot of areas in my life, God made me, it's weird. Not weird, sorry. What's very beautiful with my experience with Christ is that he always said that you are worthy. And then I was like, my thoughts are like, you're unworthy. And so it was like, those two always bounce off each other. And so you kind of have to write down what you are hearing, so that you can kind of say that, okay, no, actually, this is what I'm hearing. If God puts you in a difficult place, for example, that was done with me, and then your first reaction, you want to just, look threatening, so that, the person backs off. Christ will ask you like, okay, but why do you feel like you need to do that? Do you not feel secure in my holy place, in my hiding place, like in leaning on me to be your banner, to be your provider, to be your healer? And so then that one becomes that question. It's not confronting like, yeah, village people in this area, they're always like this, because that is a messy clutter kind of belief that we have, or you may have. But then it's then moving into, okay, what is Christ then leading me into believing? It's to purify that inner child who needed to protect themselves, if that was the case, that inner child that needed to over-explain themselves, if that was the case. Whatever your current narrative is, whatever your current situation is, like spiritually, emotionally, and like your environment, is something that is really important. Finally, I then realized that, what, Christ is it's so beautiful. The reason why then I started writing a lot on my blog, and I guess here I'm sharing behind the scenes of why I wrote a certain type of way, is here in Eswatini, there's a lot of bewitching, right? People believe in a lot of like bewitching. And so when you're going through spiritual warfare, it really then becomes difficult to okay, it becomes difficult to understand why you're going through this. For example, I sometimes believe my story was, I have fragrances of Moses' story where, you don't speak enough, so you need to speak enough. It makes it very difficult to kind of see that God is hardening someone for the purpose of releasing your greatness when you are constantly putting more power into the works of the devil. Let me just say that. You know what I mean? When you not looking at spiritual warfare, and then I don't know how it's, oh no. So that made me realize that that's why I started writing. My earliest blog post was like, God is not geographical. God is not geographical. He's not your leaders. He's not your community. He's not your country. He doesn't even like countries. Hello. Like, if you go read the story, when they first asked for a king, it disappointed him. Like, that one to me was like, when I was like, oh, Jesus. He looked so hard. It sounded, when I was reading that one, like he was really heartbroken. Like, he is the comforter of all comforters, the provider of all providers. And here you are, thinking that a human is better equipped to do what God can do. And that is even a clutter. Like, that is a belief, a messy belief that we have. And it's rightfully so, because our whole entire lives are surrounded by narratives where it kind of seems like you need to have something outside of God to get where you want. You need to fulfill your abandonment. You need to get married. You need to fall in love. That's something that triggered me a little bit, because in our community here, maybe sometimes people they're very quick to be like, children these days are just, they're just loose. And it's like, no, I don't know why this always happens, but I always have moments where I play mommy or like big sister. I'll say like big sister role. And now I because I feel like I'm crossing the old young adult stage, so I let them call me auntie. I like them. I like kids call me auntie, but a lot of the kids are abandoned. And I think one of the counter narratives to that abandonment and loneliness and the yearning for like love and being held and being comforted and being secured, like that blanket kind of feeling, is love. Like, love is like the best narrative that's out there, that is also very destructive to our personal growth and the healing of young kids. So a young kid will repeatedly be like, I feel lost, and then he'll mention something like, my family, nobody's available at home, they're always busy. Then when you give a child more effort, you see the evolution where society gets really tired of looking after this kid, especially like maybe if he doesn't even know access. Like, there is access here, like Save the Children, all of these ones are doing phenomenal jobs, but it doesn't mean that they've done 100%. They've caught the whole net. And so I don't know, I got triggered at some point when I was doing my dating series, because then I got stuck on, the church needs to be addressing this. We need more church people to be a place where we are the consistent narrative in it. Because I also met another church organizations, which really made me happy, but not every child. They made me happy because they've created a space where kids can come and volunteer. You can, if you're lost, come and feel found here. And I think that's great, because then at some point, one of the kids, he was so tired of being lost. He's searching. He's on the road like till 10 p.m. at night. And then he finally turned around to me and he goes, yeah, I'm going to lose my virginity and have a baby. And I was like, I remembered talking to another young mom that was her same story. Just like, she spoke to a young man, her father, her baby daddy and her were like, we're going to be there for each other for life. And you think that this baby is there. So then that means that there's something that's really profound and important about the narratives, that even if I'm not into dating, I'm still being exposed to this illusion of what will save me. Whether it's money will save me, whether it's a career will save me, whether it's getting pregnant will save me. That illusion is still standing there. And so when he said that, I did have and it's learning for him. I had to recognize that we are the same person. I just chose that messy kind of idea in a different route than he did. And so I did have like that shock, like, and then he was like, oh, so you're going to judge me too? Because he was facing a lot of judgment. People they were not being warm towards him. They were being very cold. And so I ended up being like, oh, no, this is my big sister mode. Then I was like, okay, you know what? You and I, we need to hang out this weekend. He didn't, they just started to ignore me. And I was like, oh, so you want to ignore your big sister, huh? You think you're better, you think you're better than me? Just to try and poke him to like, I know what it means to, because I do it. But I know what it means to, misread or have, because you've been confronted by the same kind of response, then shut down and just not want to do anything with you. So I had to poke him little by little so that we can go back to us talking. And then hopefully, it just means that I'm hopefully just one narrative that he can get into it. But it really did make me believe that, okay, that's why I think I just got triggered on my dating. I got sick and tired of talking about, okay, you guys are just yelling at each other. Let's get out the way. Let's talk about what the core reason is here. We need to have these conversations about your icky messes. Do you feel lost? What beliefs did we carry? Then finally, I want to say that just be hopeful. And I hope and I pray that you will take this journey as just to be like, you know what? Right now, just do what I did, okay? I want you to start like 2 years ago where I started, okay? Well, after I was like, okay, Jesus, yeah, you just, every quarter, there's a new belief. I must be like, no, it's fake. It's half truth. It's like 50% true or 20% true. So I want you to have that openness that everything that you've ever believed is just wrong. And the reason why I say that is because I kind of noticed that, I don't know, I've started to say this, that high school should be like spring break or a summer break. You do everything exciting, everything new. Maybe it was a little bit muddy and icky and didn't make sense. Clicks made you feel some certain type of way. But I've noticed that a lot of people, when we have a lot of conversations, two things, it just showed me the power of the human brain. Somebody in preschool didn't want to get married because they got rejected in preschool. And then, but it was like an outburst. Like we're talking and I was like, I didn't want to get married. But then I was like, no, actually, why don't you want to get married? And then you press. And then the outburst is like, something happened to me in preschool. And it's like, preschool? So a lot of the times, parents can't even catch anything. Have the heart, have the grace, have the forgiveness. And I'll be continuously saying that because we're exposed to so many things. And we don't know how one small thing can differentiate you. For example, we were just talking about it this morning. There's a belief that I had one part of the narrative. So I had maybe paragraph 3. This individual had paragraph 2 of this belief. And it was so weird. I was like, you know what? If only we could put the paragraphs together, we would see that I took the same thing that we faced. I was like, yeah, I never want to see old people clothes, and then that kind of played a construct in my idea of what is old people clothing? What does that actually mean? And what does that mean to me? Other individuals are going to take the same thing and maybe turn it and look at it in a different way. But when we're not putting those pieces together with God, it then persists that idea of maybe scarcity, that nobody loves me. I feel confused. I've been searching, and then you turn like, oh, but love, the narrative of love, guys, is so big. There's so many. I love them. I love the shows, but there's so many shows where it just kind of confirms to you that, you know what, I won't be made whole up until I've fallen in love with someone. And, I think we need to get onto this, you need to join me on this one. I need to fight this one with you guys in the sense that the only way is God, is the only way to feeling complete and whole is with God, because then that allows you to give more grace to individuals over time when you don't get the expectations that you want, or when certain beliefs, when people have like different beliefs from you. And then how can you see God in your difficulties? How can you see God in just the progression of your life? So that is, to me, that's what clutter is. I think clutter, in a way, it's just the beliefs and ideas that we have right now that may not be in your favor. So over time, we're going to be unfolding what I actually mean by that. I'll be giving you guys examples from when I was a writer, marketing and communications writer in a wellness place, and something that really made me reflect on even medical people can't fix what God can fix. And that's such a beautiful moment. And I hope to anybody who's sitting there being like, how do you speak to Jesus? What are you talking about? Hello, I was there. Okay, so I'm really happy, and I hope that you will just spend this time with me so that we can actually, let's get into how do they talk to Jesus? What are you talking about? Say it. How does Jesus talk? And just recognize that it's that back idea, like, wow, is my life as worthy for God to talk to me? Am I worthy enough for God to talk to me? And the truth is, you are. So let's get into it. Let's break down those ideas, those beliefs, so that we can build a godly life plan. Oh yeah, I forgot to say, have grace and room to feel like your life plan is wrong. Because at some point, okay, I was slapsticking God when I call it slapsticking now, but at the time I didn't think I was. God is so faithful, so he knew that he could take me when like a goal freak, so we put the goals together and he helped me succeed. And then all of a sudden he's like, oh yeah, by the way, I don't want you to do this for the rest of your life. I was like, hey! What are you talking about? I refuse to remove those goals. I was like, I have a whole binder for this life plan. What do you mean? And then, but he's so beautiful because he didn't respond to me. God, like when I'm having that, like in your head, you're having that. That's how you respond. But like, okay, it's okay. Don't worry. So what do you want me to do? And then he shows you like, this is like a trailer of this is what you should be doing. And you're like, okay. And then later on, I realized that, the life plan I'm building is my idols. And I was like, oh yeah, by the way, so when you said that you didn't want me to do these idol things, I also don't want to follow idols. They've given me too many headaches and I hate them. So just be aware that the first thing with God maybe confirms that this is where you're supposed to be going. Sometimes there is a purpose to it. He just wants you to gain more trust in him so that when he does turn the situation around, you might get a fragrance. And you know what? Actually, for me, I should have known that God doesn't want me to do this because I had a lot, when people from church or whatever, strangers, keep talking to you about the thing that God wants you to do, and you just keep looking at them like, yeah, in which world? In your world. Good luck to you. And then, keep charging like I would, like speedy. Then that's, so then God will finally come and talk to you. He will allow you to have the growth, especially when you own your growth. I had to own being sick and tired of that idol to being like, okay, so what's my life plan? We're here, but I'm actually not happy when I'm seeing where I'm not happy with what I'm doing. Like it's no longer fulfilling me. And then that's when he can turn you around. So I hope maybe you guys won't have to like go to the level where I went, because it is emotionally tiring in the sense that you stubbornly pushed your way through. If that is like who you, if you're anyway like me, I'm not sorry as well. But just to then take a break so that you can have the same stamina, have the same passion to go after now the right thing and the rightful thing that Christ wants you to do, and will give you the most happiness and give you the most peace. And the reason why I say that is because you've realized that even when things are messy, when you're being rejected a million times, I'm so happy to say that you'll find happiness in that moment. So yes, let's go after those growth opportunities. Let's go after those successes. Let's live a life of breakthroughs. That is what I'm here to join some people. And life of breakthroughs is, as I hope you guys realize, is just healing from ideas, flaky ideas from preschool, if that's you, primary school, elementary school, high school, especially high school, guys. High school, somebody needs to go and tell these kids, high school, let me tell you something, high school is just, you must say high school is a holiday, okay? I'm here on holiday with weird beliefs, period. Okay, and then when you are more emotionally grown, you hopefully university join these growth development places, or if you can in high school, join them in high school. I used to do old people things in high school, and I was always around older people. That's after I dislocated my shoulder and then realized, I can't be a national swimmer for life. So, and then it made me realize I'm full force, like, kind of like a mule kind of person. And so it was really great that I lost the biggest opportunity of my life, but it then turned me around. So I'm okay with you getting that space of disappointment to turn around, but I also feel like, wouldn't it be so much more better if you just had that grace to be like, oh, I keep saying grace, or window of opening, or like opening space to be like, okay, what I'm doing is not the end all, it's not the foundation. It needs to be the foundation up until God is consistently and periodically changing my life. The final thing that I said that I really did believe that maybe God, I love growth, defining failure as growth opportunities, because if your life needs to change, your life needs to change. The space that we live in right now, like it changes. It feels like it's about to change every 2 years, 5 years. Somebody actually said that people will be changing their jobs every 5 years. So how do you emotionally, mentally, and physically prepare yourself for that kind of spiritual, emotional change? And so let's get into these conversations. Let's live that kind of life where you are happy with change, because at least you are trying your best to say, you know what, God, I don't know what this talking to you thing is, but I need to try it, because I need the Father who's, only here for my goodness, from writing down his character, from writing down his promises. I only see good in everything that you say. And so that will help me understand the healing and my belief systems about then why does God purify you? It's not punishing. Why does he purify you? For the purpose of my own benefit. I want to be benefited. I want to get all the goodness of Christ. Hey, so let's do this. Let's do this, guys. So I'm so excited again. Please do leave a comment if you want me to mention anything. And I hope to see you next time. Live a life of breakthroughs, even if it's, more importantly, if it is just your emotional, mental, and belief change. Live it, baby girl. Live it, boy. Live it, live it, live it, live it, live it. Go and live that life. Go and pursue those goals. Go and pursue everything that's goodness and deserving of you.